Hey guys, it's David from X-Wing Versus, and today we are going into the asteroid field. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite ships from X-Wing First Edition, the TIE Defender. And coming into the second edition, so they made it more expensive. The cheapest one is currently 70 points. Before, or 72 points. Before it was about like 30 points, I want to say. So you could before you could have 3, now you can only have 2. And with the added cost of taking a higher skilled pilot like the Countess Ryad or Colonel Vessery, it's very difficult to try and put these into a list, especially because once you put any upgrades onto Ryad or Vessery, you're probably looking at 100 points. So there's half of your build. The TIE Defender is a very capable platform, but you need to know how to make your points count whenever you make a build using them. I brought you guys a pretty creative build in ways which it will definitely require a lot of skill from you, the player, but is very rewarding if you can get it right. And I do need to mention, so I do have pictures from a practice game, but I did lose my practice game. And I lost because of 2 critical errors I made when trying to use this build. Alright, so let's go through my build. We're going to start out with Colonel Vessery, and of course in the TIE Defender. And he comes in at Initiative 4, which is good, but not very competitive because he's not at 5 or 6, which is really what you're looking for. And he has Collision Detector. This is very important to this build because, as you notice from the thumbnail, there is an asteroid. That enables you to land on an asteroid or go through an asteroid or other debris without suffering any effects. And so that's really what this build is about, is using these collision detectors to get these TIE Defenders in spots they wouldn't otherwise be, because everyone knows that a TIE Defender is going to K-turn, but no one expects a TIE Defender to K-turn onto an asteroid, unless they had collision detector, but still, how are they going to block you because there's an asteroid already there? So that's really the power of this build, or the gimmick, you might say, that it relies on. And in addition to the collision detector, I gave Vessery Juke. The Juke upgrade is a necessity for this build because it helps Vessery and the Countess put in damage they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So in order to use Juke, you first need to have an evade token of your own, and that, by having your own evade token, it cancels one of your opponent's evade results by turning it into a focus result. So if your opponent still has a focus token or a calculate token, they can still change it back into an evade, but still then they have to sacrifice the evade token. So either way, it's still useful. And this is important just because you only have 2 ships, so damage is even more important. That if you're getting hit and critical results, they need to be able to actually do damage. And you also notice on the screen I have a homing missile upgrade. I actually didn't even put it in my build during my practice game. I discarded it so I would have the initiative for sure. In this build, you're going to see missile upgrades. They're really not that important. You'll notice on the Countess, instead of giving her homing missiles, she has cluster missiles. Now, cluster missiles is actually somewhat useful because in the event I'm facing a TIE swarm or some other swarm, or in the future a droid swarm, then cluster missiles will actually, I think, be more useful, more pertinent. But right now, it's more there just an insurance policy. But the homing missiles you saw earlier on Vessery are totally optional, and I would actually discard it just to make sure you have the initiative. Alright, and then, so looking at the Countess and her other upgrades, they're exactly the same as Vessery, because you need Juke for the damage and collision detector to give you the mobility you need that is so crucial to this build. And really quickly about their pilot abilities. So the Countess's ability lets her K-turn on any straight maneuver by lowering the difficulty. So all the blues become white. So this is pretty powerful because it makes her hard to guess where she's going to be. And because she's hard to guess and read, well, she's actually just really easy to read. She's going to K-turn, but the question is at what speed is she going to K-turn? So it makes it harder for your opponent to guess. It's also important that she be the one taking the target lock action. So in case you don't know, Colonel Vessery's ability is that if he's attacking a locked target, he acquires a target lock after he rolls his dice. So basically you get free target locks with Colonel Vessery. And so that's very critical, getting those re-rolls. And long as we're talking about pilot selection, it's also noteworthy to consider bringing Rexler Brath. Rexler Brath is currently the only Initiative 5 TIE Defender pilot. So that puts him up in that ace category, so he can get a target lock, potentially on another ace if you win the initiative build, and they're actually currently, as points are in the game, there's quite a few points left over, so you can easily win an initiative bid with Rexler Brath. And that's critical, just so that way other pilot skill 5 pilots can move, and then Vessery will be wherever he is, and then Rexler Brath can move and acquire a target lock. And in addition to that, Rexler Brath's ability of exposing 1 damage card, so basically flipping it face up, if he also has an evade token and if his attack hit, that is still pretty useful. But I'd say the real benefit of bringing Rexler is his price. He is cheaper than both the Countess and Colonel Vessery, and he comes in higher initiative, so you can target lock opponents that you otherwise wouldn't have, and then Vessery can share that target lock essentially as well. So that's a very critical ability. Alright, so that's the roster, but now how about flying this build? The biggest mistake I made in my practice game was I just jumped right in to the fight. The problem with that is TIE Defenders, so you only have 2 of them, and especially in this build, your 2-ship build, you rely a lot on the element of surprise because of the collision detector. And so in my particular case, I was facing Darth Vader, Captain Oiken, and just an Academy pilot and a TIE fighter. And on turn 1 of fighting, I rammed Colonel Vessery into Oiken and lost all of my shields by the end of the first turn. So as you can see, that's already a very poor start. So because I was unshielded like on turn 1, that means the rest of the game was already going to be an uphill battle. So I did pretty good in the end. I killed Vader, and Captain Oiken only had 5 health left out of his 16 total health, including his 4 shields. So I did pretty good, all things considered, but my turn 1 was awful, and I was trying to come back from that the entire game. So you want to go slow, so that way your opponent has to go through the asteroids, which are your home field advantage, so that way you can, basically, it enables you to start the game on your own terms. So if you're facing Oiken, don't dive right in. If you're facing a super meta build, like Whisper, Redline, and Soontir, you're probably okay diving right in, because obviously they're not Oiken, they're not there to ram you. But just take your engagement smart. Choose your battles. Pick them well. And the second mistake I made was I didn't stay in the asteroid field. Every time I used my collision detector, I was able to get decisive shots. I was able to kill Vader and deal serious damage to Captain Oiken. So the 2 times I used it were decisive, and I still had 2 charges left total in the game. So I used 1 for Vessery, 1 for Countess. I used a total of twice, and there was still 1 charge left on each of their collision detectors when they died. So I think if I had been able to use both, I could have won the game. Keyword could have. I mean, dice are evil, but you never know. But I just wanted to mention that I feel like if you are using the collision detector wisely and keeping the battle in the asteroid field, then you're going to have the advantage and you'll be able to get the kills you need. And against a 3-ship list, if it's an Imperial 3-ship list, I feel like you have pretty decent odds of succeeding. But against something that has heavy spike damage or an alpha strike, like for example, I feel like if your opponent had 3 X-Wings with proton torpedoes, chances are they're probably going to nuke one of your TIE Defenders out of the game on turn 1. And then it'll be a 3-on-1 fight, and then you can imagine how well that's going to go. Because of that, I can't say this build is great for tournaments. It probably isn't. However, I can say it's a ton of fun, and you can bring in a local match, local casual match, and it'll be lots of fun for you and your friends. So what do you think of my list? Would you ever try flying my double TIE Defender build? And if you would, where would you fly it? If you're not in the TIE Defenders, but you stayed all the way through this video, first of all, kudos to you. You're awesome. But also let me know, what ship from X-Wing 2.0 do you think needs some love? Let me know in the comment section below, and I will definitely consider making a video about it. In the past, I've definitely done that, and currently, right now, I'm thinking about doing an A-Wing or an E-Wing list, so that's why I say maybe not next week, but chances are I'll be able to get to it in the future. Yeah, if you like my video, please consider subscribing. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.